Hi everyone, welcome to this video. This is a Math 082 video where we learn about points and lines. Specifically, this video is just going to cover the X and Y axes, identifying them, and then it's going to teach you how to plot points on a coordinate plane. I will post other videos that accomplish these other two objectives right here. Okay, so first I want to begin by saying that many students struggle specifically with graphing, okay? And I think there's a few reasons for that. If you think about like basic arithmetic or even algebra, those are the sorts of skills that can be reinforced in everyday life. Whereas I don't know the last time I encountered a graphing problem in the real world. So since this isn't really being reinforced in any meaningful way in your real life, this is the sort of thing that gets forgotten first, if you will, if you haven't had math in a long time. So let's start by identifying the axes. So you may remember that this is the x-axis, okay, and it is also called the horizontal axis. And if you forget horizontal or vertical, one way to remember it is to think about the horizon, right? The horizon is the line between the sky and the earth, if you will. So horizontal means horizon, so it's that flat line there, okay? The y-axis is also known as the vertical axis, okay, and it goes straight up and down. So that's really important. If you don't know which one is x and which one is y, it's going to be pretty much impossible for you to plot points or lines. Okay, so let's keep going. So now we know the x-axis is the horizontal axis. We know the y-axis is the vertical axis. So in math, if you are asked to plot a point, you will be given what's called an ordered pair. Okay, and it will be in this form right here. So the first number is always the x, and the second number is always the y. Notice that these are separated by this nice little comma here, and then they are also included or encapsulated in parentheses. Okay, so if you don't have the comma, you don't have an ordered pair. If you don't have parentheses, you don't have an ordered pair. All of those notations are important. So let's just make up a point. I'm going to pick the point 2, 3. Okay, so it's important to remember that 2 is your x value and 3 is your y value. So what does this mean? That means that I go 2 on the x-axis. Well, now we have to remember which way is positive and which way is negative. So this is, if you go right, going right is in the positive direction. So we are going to number our axis. That's usually a good idea. Okay, and then over here, these numbers are, as we move left, are going to become more and more negative. Let's do the same thing up here. The y-axis, if we go up, that's going to be positive. If we go down, that indicates that our values of y are getting more and more negative. And of course, you could number more. I'm just trying to save time here. Okay, so if it's okay with you guys, I am going to use green to represent a positive direction, and I'm going to use red to represent a negative direction. Okay, so anytime I move in a positive direction, I'm going to use the green color. So this 2, you can see, is positive. There's no negative sign in front of it. So the first thing I do to get to this point is I go 2 to the right. Okay, then my y value is also positive. So that means I go 3 units up, okay, in that positive x direction. And let's use a nice pretty purple color here. Sometimes when I try to make a point, it doesn't work very well. There we go. Okay, let's just for fun call this point A. Okay, so I will label this point A, and again, A is the point 2, 3. All right, let's do another point. This time, let's throw in some negative numbers. So let's use an orange color here. Let's say I have the point -1, 3. Okay, so this time, my x value is negative. So this time I'm not going to go right. Instead, I'm going to go left 1 unit. Okay, so I went left 1 unit, just like it told me to. Now, you notice my y value is still positive. So since my y value is still positive, then I still go up 3 units. Okay, and then we have our point, we have our point B right here. Okay, and again, that's the point -1, 3. All right, let's make up a number, an ordered pair, where both values are negative. What about if we had the point -3, -3? What would that look like? Well, that means, I didn't close my parentheses there. There we go. That means that our x value is -3, so that means I need to move to the left 3 units from the origin. And I didn't explicitly say it before, but your starting point when you're graphing ordered pairs is always the origin. And the origin, I didn't say this earlier, okay, is where the x and y axes meet. Okay, and the coordinates of the origin are the point 0, 0. All right, so getting back to point C, so we moved 3 units to the left, and then our y value is -3, so we move 3 units down. Okay, so now I'm going to put a point right here. There we go. I'm going to label it point C, and again, this is the point -3, -3. All right, let's do one more. How about we use this nice blue color here? Okay, this time I'm going to make the x positive and I'll make the y negative. Okay, so that you can see a point graphed in each of the 4 quadrants. Okay, you don't need to know what the quadrants are right now. If you're curious, you can Google it. But let's just stay focused on our task at hand. Okay, so our x value is 5. 5 is a positive number, so that means I'm going to move first on the x-axis 5 units to the right. Okay, then our y value is a negative value. It's a -4, so then I'm going to move 4 units down from there. Okay, and going back to this blue color, I have this point D right here. Okay, and again, that is the point 5, -4. Okay, so to summarize, if you have a positive x value, that means that you move to the right. If you have a negative x value, that means you move to the left. If you have a positive y value, that means you move up. And if you have a negative y value, that means you move down. And that's what you need to know to be able to graph ordered pairs. So I want to do a few more examples in this video. I know it's a little bit long. If you feel like you've mastered it, of course, you can click away. But let's go and look at this here. Okay, so I'm going to start out with a new clean axis, or our coordinate plane. Okay, and again, it's always good to number them. Okay, and this will be 1, 2, 3, -1, -2, -3. This is my x-axis, this is my y-axis. So let's suppose, for a minute here, that I threw down a number, or a point somewhere in space. So let's say I have a point right here. Okay, and somebody asked me, we'll call this point A. Okay, and someone asked me for the coordinates of A. So again, remember we write our ordered pairs like this. Okay, so I'm leaving a space in between those 2 parentheses for my x and y value. Well, let's look at this. In order to get to this blue dot, first I had, oops, wrong color, just kidding. First I had to go to the right 3 units, didn't I? That's what I have to do to get to that blue point from the origin. So that means my x is +3. Okay, then what did I have to do? Well, then I had to go down 2 units, it looks like, right? So that means my y value is -2. All right, so I'm going to draw a few more points on here and just pause the video and see if you can, without any help, figure out the coordinates of those points. Okay, so I'm going to put a point here. Okay, and we'll call this point B. Oops, sorry. Okay, and I'll put a third point down here, right there, and I'll call this point C. So take a minute, pause the video, and see if you can figure out the coordinates of point B and the coordinates of point C. All right, so if you pause the video, hopefully you have your answers written down in front of you. So to get to B, we needed to go over 1, 2, 3 units to the left. So that means our x value is -3. Then, to get all the way up to B here, we had to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units up. So our y value should be 5. If you got -3, 5, then you were correct. So give yourself a pat on the back. All right, for C, we had to go over on the x-axis 2 units to the left. Okay, and then we had to go 1 unit down. So that means that we have the ordered pair -2, -1. Okay, let's try 2 more examples. So this time I want you to pause the video and see if you can plot the point 4, 5, and then see if you can plot the point -4, -3. Okay, so if I plot the point 4, 5, that means that I go over to the left 4 units, and then I go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units, like that. Okay, so that means that point D is going to be right there. So if that's where you drew it on your paper, then you were correct. All right, let's look at point E. I'm going to make this a dark blue color. Okay, to get to point E, we need to go 4 units to the left. 1, 2, 3, 4. Is that right? Yep. And then we need to go 1, 2, 3 units down. And that lands us right here. Okay, and again, that is point E. Okay, so make sure you're doing your homework. You can use the online homework. You can also use the textbook for extra practice.